The cast of You had to deal with tough issues during all 4 seasons of the show, just like their characters.
That's intense, man.
Find out the real price of the stunts from the show. Learn why Penn Badgley asked for 0 intimate scenes in the 4th season. Oh, and don't snack while watching this video, as we'll unpack the props behind those murders.
It was covered in sticky sugar red blood and, countless human hairs that were not mine. Actually, I don't know whose they were.
Penn was the one who faced the most difficulties on the show. Actually, it took a lot of effort for him to decide to take the part. When the actor first read the script, Joe scared him.
As a person reading it and having to do it, I was horrified. I was just like, this is getting really intense.
He refused to play the stalker because of his moral principles, but this decision jeopardized the show, because the showrunners couldn't imagine any other candidates for the role. So they had to beg him to play Joe.
My conversations with them that made me overcome my pesky moral conflict over playing such a guy.
Even though Penn decided to take it on, he never stops talking about how much he dislikes Joe.
He's just, he's a creep. Fuck Joe.
And Penn wasn't the only one who struggled with his character. His co-star from season 3, Travis Van Winkle, had to fully transform his body for the role of Cary. He put on 10 pounds of muscle. As you can guess, that required a strict workout plan, plus a rigid diet. I just spent 6 months of 5 days a week in my garage gym, 1 day of cardio per week, a dynamic nutrition plan. But that preparation was needed, not just to portray a stereotypical California gym head, but it also allowed Travis to do all of his own stunts. I built physicality with Cary that allowed me to play in all of these different fight scenes and these sequences. Still, it's nothing compared to what Penn Badgley had to do during the filming. The show creators have never revealed the secrets behind how all of the fierce scenes were made. But the actor behind the creepy stalker shared that sometimes it took enormous work.
We actually had to do more stunts than you see, really.
And it would be even worse when intense scenes were shot in specific places, like Joe's glass cage. That space is pretty tiny in real life. And during filming, it was always packed with cameras and crew, so there was barely enough air to breathe. Shalita Grant, who played Cary, said that it was her least favorite part filming there. She shared that the episode when her character was stuck in the cage were too much for her. And what if filming in such conditions also requires a specific way of acting? As you have noticed, most of Joe's dialogues happen inside his head. Yes, that means he doesn't have to learn those lines.
I'm just looking at X's on the matte box of the camera, and then my stand-in Danny is reading all the thoughts. And an entire scene, and sometimes it's like a 4-page scene.
However, silent acting wasn't an easy ride for Penn. He had to portray Joe's thoughts with his facial mimicry, and doing this took a lot of effort for him.
It's really strange, to be honest. It's very technical. It's not like normal acting at all.
Sometimes the showrunners had to hide some script details from Penn to film real shock in his eyes.
If you put a fully clothed person staring at a woman in her underwear in bed when he's not supposed to be there, it's inherently creepy.
At the same time, there were several scenes that required a lot of preparation, like the one in season 1 where Beck falls into the train tracks. Even though the whole scene was only about 3 minutes, the actors had to spend 8 hours on a safety course. Don't think the subway station was just fake studio staging. Elizabeth Lail had to throw herself onto real train tracks on one of New York's subway stations. For another star, Victoria Pedretti, stunts were a part of her filming routine. Though her character is a pro at hurting people, from sticking a knife into Candace's throat, to whacking Gil on the head with a rolling pin, and bashing Theo over the head with a fire extinguisher. To make all those scenes look real, Victoria had to have consultations with the stunt experts. However, there was not enough time to take an 8-hour course for every murder scene, so the actress acquired her skills right on set. Usually the day of, we would just go over the murder just that day, or if we were working with props, lifting things, digging, we would just practice the day to make it look as good as possible. Were such intense preparations exhausting? She has never complained on camera, but it's safe to say that the filming process was far from easy. Moreover, she's pointed out more than once that such a large amount of violence had an emotional impact on her.
All that energy was still fully in me from everything that had happened and the momentum of those 6 months that we had been working. And it was pretty intense.
Well, it's not surprising. Some of the scenes were disgusting to see even for just a few seconds. and the actors had to spend 12 to 14 hours on sets that were full of blood and limbs. Of course, it was all fake, but Badgley revealed that the show creators wanted to make them look and even feel believable. So the red liquid was so sticky and clammy that it was off-putting to stand next to it.
You know, handling the fake dead bodies is actually surprisingly hard. It's just kind of turns your stomach because the skin feels real.
What was even more horrifying? They used human hair for the prosthetic cadavers.
Real human hair individually applied.
Penn also shared that in season 4, he had to deal with fresh meat to film the murder episode.
I'm covered in blood, and they had to put pieces of meat on a table saw, and there was really dark fake blood on the table.
Pretty logical question. How could Penn Badgley handle such gruesome stuff? The actor was honest that sometimes he felt below par after film days.
And then suddenly I'm in this little room that's full of atmosphere, fake smoke for lighting, and just like fake blood on a table saw and like bits of human remains. It just took my spirit and my mood and just plummeted.
He had no choice but to keep a hardcore prayer regimen. The actor meditated before going on set and learned spiritual practices to not break down. Occasionally, those rituals didn't help, and sometimes Penn felt sick from the acts of his character.
There have been a few times where I've spontaneously become nauseous.
So on the days he had to film a murder, he had to follow some rules. For instance, he refused food.
I can't have food in my stomach, so I'm often kind of empty.
Still, Penn revealed that the murder scenes weren't as demanding as the intimate scenes for him. Ever since the first season of You came out in 2018, the show has become synonymous with wild scenes. Over the course of the show, Badgley's had to get extremely close to several women, and it was an awkward and vulnerable experience for him.
My underwear on a bed in a fake room in front of, probably 12 people or so. And then knowing that it's going to be seen by
400
literally
million?
millions
I'm
of
already
people,
embarrassed.
I had to hump the air. I was simulating real sex.
The actor went as far as to label the intimate scenes the most embarrassing in his career. And being so close with the women was challenging for Penn for one more simple reason. He's a married man. And the actor only wants to imagine an intimate life with his wife.
It's really important to me to like fidelity in every relationship, and especially my marriage, is important to me. And yeah, it just got to a point where I don't want to do that.
For season 4, Penn decided to ask the show director to make fewer intimate scenes. So season 4 is less romantic and instead more creepy and gruesome. Which season was the most harsh for you? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to stay awesome.